Younger sir. Hello, Robert. How are you?
Yeah, good mate. Yourself?
Okay, okay.
All right, so let's start with this, guys. First of all, welcome to the discussion. And my name is Saeed Fala, and I'm the head coach as well as the founder of Fala Cricket Academy, which has been running for close to 1 decade in the western zone of India, which is the state of Maharashtra. And I have Rob Humphrey, the cricket godfather, I would say, in a way. So Rob Humphrey, and then I have got Eranga Mendes, who was the who was a talented off spinner of Sri Lanka international team, and I've got Vincent John of Maratha Cricket League. So to start with, let's start with you, Eranga. Can you tell me more about how has it been? Like how has your journey been since you got started with your Sri Lanka?
Oh well, like any other cricketers, right? Startups, the young age, as you probably would know, Rob, um, Sri Lanka and India and South Asian countries. So it's all about cricket match, right? I'm just one of the kids who just fall in love with the game. So just started when I was actually living in a beautiful, city called Ambalangura down south of Sri Lanka. So yeah, it went really well actually. The I got some the great performance that people realize I got some potential. So yeah, so there's no time I'm making to a little bit more first class cricketer, but I've only played a handful of the first class cricket, and then before I returned to the UK, it was quite a good journey actually. I met quite a good, the players and coaches down that, the road, learned a lot. And now here I'm actually as a spin bowling coach. Yeah, doing really well.
Great, great, Eranga. So I do understand that you got selected during that particular aura wherein like the greats of Mutaya Muralidharan and quality spin bowlers coming into the picture. So how was that particular journey for you to make your name into that particular list?
Well, actually, I think the great Latham is a firehead. Is a unique character. You can't really compare. And I'm personally speaking, I'm nowhere close to him. But I'm again, another spin bowler. Love to spin and I like the passion. But actually, the most important through is actually I'm a batsman. The batsman who bowls, not the bowler who actually bats. So that I don't know how that transition worked, but I always have that desire that I wanted to be involved with the game. So it just became a bit more genuine all around. We actually go and get some runs and and get some wickets. But the yeah, I have the feel for performance, and once I was in the radar, so it was quite a good. But yeah, and never to be the compare with the such a great in a game. So, but it was a really good experience being the playing against them, or the playing the sometimes actually some of the players I work they played with them. So it's quite a good the mix experience.
Right. And how has it been with your current engagement with Spin Bowling Clinic, which you have initiated?
Yep. So, well, actually, it's just 2 weeks back to coaching. So after lockdown, so which is shameful in the summer cricket in England. But they were slowly building up with the restrictions in line with the government. Yeah, I was started in a spin bowling clinic way back in actually 2014. But I was coaching probably about a good 15 years, I think, since I returned to UK. And also, I've been part of the Surrey, the spin bowling program, been working with them for a number of years, and also working with the other the organisations across the board. Yeah, so that's what I do. The teaching spin day in day out. Love it.
Great, great. So let's move on to Rob Humphrey. So as I understand, you are more like a godfather to all the cricket players in your, work profile, which I understand. Like most of the cricket players who have accomplished, be it on the amateur level or the professional level, they would like to connect with you so that okay, you get us a good deal. So let's talk about you, Rob. First of all, let me know your journey. Like, how did you start? How did things happen?
Yeah, so I actually came over to the UK to play cricket when I was 19. Desperately wanted to be a professional cricketer. Was never good enough, but no one could ever tell me that. I wasn't having it, and but yeah, I utilised having an English grandmother. So I had an ancestral visa, and I arranged to come over and play local to some family. So I'm based up in Norfolk, which is a fairly quiet kind of place, and actually got the lowest rate of coronavirus in the country. So, so we've been okay up here. No, Norfolk's one of those lovely places that no one goes through Norfolk to get anywhere else. It's quite a quiet county, but it's lovely. So I came over in 2004 when I was 19, and myself, I was sort of a non-overseas, if that makes sense. And we had a young professional for the club from New Zealand who was also he just turned 20, just come out of New Zealand under 19s and made his first class debut by the name of Ross Taylor. So Ross Taylor was the club professional. My first year here in the UK, we were both a similar age. He's about 6 months older than me, and he was this kind of cock of the walk young Kiwi that was destined for big things, that came over as our club professional at Norwich Wanderers. So my first season in the UK, playing alongside Ross, I mean, at that stage, he was just a 20-year-old Kiwi. I was a 19-year-old Australian, and there was some cause for some banter around rugby at that stage because Australia used to beat New Zealand in rugby sometimes. So we used to have a bit of banter, but eventually I'd remained with the club. I'd spent a bit of time backwards and forwards between Australia and the UK, sort of chasing the travelling, the summer to summer dream of never having to have a winter. But eventually found myself settling in Norfolk, and it became my job about 2008 to find my club's overseas player. And I spoke to so many guys about coming to join my club that once our club had decided on an individual, a couple of the guys had said, well, if your club's not going to have us, do you think you could help us find a club? And I sort of said, well, I'll ring around and see what I can find. And we started in a kind of about 2008, 2009. And, I think we did kind of 5 deals in the first year, then 15 deals, then 25 or 30 deals. And it's just progressively gotten bigger from there. And over the years, we've helped some wonderful young men that have gone on to some wonderful things. And we've looked after some wonderful men that haven't gone on to have cricket careers, but have become lifelong friends through, the experience of arranging them to come over and just experience playing cricket on the other side of the world, which is, there's not many sports you can genuinely travel the world playing as an amateur. And maybe not always being paid for the pleasure, but, you get your accommodation and a flight or a bit of a kicker to get you from Australia or New Zealand or South Africa or Sri Lanka or India to come and spend a summer in the UK. And it's just progressively grown from there to a point where, we've got guys that we help just for club cricket. We've got guys that we help just for county cricket. And the big thing I've always been kind of really, really focused on is building partnerships with other agents in other parts of the world. You tend to find the agent game's a little bit cutthroat, and people don't want to give up their commission for anything. Everyone wants their slice of the pie, and that's never been my motivation. And I've always been happy to work with other agents in different parts of the world, because when you're based in the UK, a really good example is say someone like Marnus Labuschagne, who plays for Australia, and Queensland Glamorgan, who's gone on to have a wonderful 12 months. He was with us when he was 18, 19, and we arranged for him to play a couple of seasons of club cricket as an amateur in the UK. He then sort of started to progress his career in Australia, and for me to pursue him as a full management client was kind of impossible and not very fair, you know, to expect that someone from the UK can really give the absolute best service to someone that's on the other side of the world. But we've always sort of built relationships with people in different countries so that when those guys sort of go on to bigger and better things, they can hopefully come back to us and say, well, you know, as happened with Marnus, you know, his agent in Australia, Dean Kino, who I get along with really well, came back to me and said, well, you know, you'd helped Marnus in the past when he was younger. He now wants to come and play a bit of county cricket. Can you help us out? And, of course, we were able to get an opportunity for him at Glamorgan. And we all know kind of the rest of Marnus's story from there as to where that's gone over the last 12 months. But we've had a lot of that over the years. And the big thing for us is, you know, building relationships with other agents isn't really the norm in the agent game. And that's something that we pride ourselves on, is that I've got contacts on the subcontinent in South Africa where those agents will actually come to me and with a list of players, and they'll say, well, I've got these 10 blokes all want to come and play cricket in the UK, or these ones want to try and play county cricket, and we'll try and help everyone because, you've got to make a living. I've got 5 kids, so you've got to make a living, but I'm always happy to, you know, sort of split. You know, I'd rather have 50% of something than 100% of nothing. And but I think the big thing is just building partnerships with people. I think it's always better to collaborate than, you know, be kind of the going solo all the time. And I think, you know, over the years we've built some wonderful relationships with people all over the world where, you know, those agents trust me not to try and backdoor them, if that makes sense, because there's a lot of that in the agent game. And a lot of people, you know, once they, so an example, so say Chris Morris, for instance, we helped kind of facilitate a deal for him with Hampshire last year for the Blast. And those, there was a lot of hands-on between Chris and I in terms of visas and things like that. And that would have been a prime opportunity for someone in the agent game to try and say to him, like, you know, Chris, you know, when you come up for your contract for renewal, let's have a chat before you re-sign with your agent. And we don't do that. We're not interested in burning those bridges because, you know, the connections that we've made are lucrative for all of us, and that's important. You know, and I don't ever want to be that guy that is the one that goes behind people's back trying to kind of pinch their clients off them. I do this because I absolutely love it, and we've helped hundreds and hundreds of young professional cricketers and internationals play cricket all over the world. And I would never want my name to be kind of dragged through the mud of, you know, as one of those guys that doesn't do the right thing. Of course, that means not every client that's signed for us has got the best deal or a deal. You know, some of our clients, we haven't been able to get deals. And I think the big thing is to always keep the communication lines open and never be the guy that sort of shies away from the tough conversation about why I couldn't get them a deal. You know, we try our hardest for all of our clients, and that's all you can do at the end of the day. And as long as you're honest with people, and I think if you don't you never hide from your failures. But we've been pretty successful. We've had some, you know, some wonderful clients over the years, and we'll continue to have some wonderful clients in the future. And yesterday we were able to announce that we've done an extra year extension for Marnus at Glamorgan, which is great news for the county in what's been a really tough year financially for the county system. And still a few unknowns as to when we might get going. But, you know, it's great news for Glamorgan to be able to say, well, actually, we've got one of the hottest cricketers in the world right now secured until the end of 2022. And that's a bit of good news in what's been a pretty average time for cricket in the UK, really.
Right, great. So it's a great, you know, elaboration which you did, and I really love it. What you talk about the players, how they come in, go out, all the network part. It really works together because I do understand that the current situation with UK, particularly for both of you being in UK, it is like, you know, the overseas professional is kind of low in frequency compared to what they used to be because, you know, of the obviously the pandemic situation. So there is no travels for the players from India, and probably some I'm not too sure about players from Sri Lanka or other parts of the world, but then from India nobody's flying to any other country to play matches or something like that.
No, I mean, from a UK recreational cricket perspective, most of the leagues, when we had about 195 players lined up to come and play in the UK this summer, just for club cricket. And of all of those various leagues that we have clubs that are playing in, pretty much all of the leagues have said if we get a start to the season, that'll probably just be kind of friendly cricket. We'll try and stick to some fixtures that have been predetermined, but there'll be no promotion, no relegation, and thus no overseas. It doesn't make any financial sense for clubs to spend £7,000 or £8,000 or £9,000 on an overseas player when there's nothing to play for. If there was maybe a bit more initiative around some cup competitions to give people something to really compete for, then maybe it's worth having your overseas over for 8 to 10 weeks. But the general vibe amongst clubs is that it's not financially viable to engage the player they had chosen to engage. And all of our clients everyone's been really understanding about the situation because we're all in the same boat. And a lot of our guys have just said, well,
right. So I believe we might have lost Rob for a bit. So Eranga, coming back to you before I go to the introduction to John, I would like to understand about the spin bowling perspective, because we do understand there are not many spin bowlers coming from the part of the world which you're currently located in. So I'm just curious to understand, how did you come up with this specialist kind of concept of only spin bowling clinic?
Yeah, I think it's as we all know, it's a bit more dying art, isn't it? So it's not much of the help. And when I first moved to UK, and then the Robert, I was just pretty much the spinners on the side, and they just been absolutely smashing the nets and stuff like that. There was no really kind of the giving respect for the bowlers. And that's why I actually felt, and of course my background in Sri Lanka, that's also going to help, helps in the young spinners, because what I see spin in Sri Lanka to UK is completely different. So there was a very early stage. That's why I actually decided this is what I'm going to do. So then I'll start actually building up from the one-to-ones onwards. As again, it just went into different level, and within no time it just became popular. And I have my concept, the players come to me, and they were all over the part of the world, and I've been taking service of spin bowling, and not just about the players, and I'm actually trying to educate coaches as well, because generally the culture of spin bowling is just not just about the players. I think we need to have both coaches and players to work together in order to find some talent that understands about the art, and of course and that's the best way we can actually get some sort of links, and then just they filter some players into the county cricket, so minor counties, so IPL, wherever that would be. There are some hidden talents. And there was when I was actually, I'm still in London, but there are not much coaches who actually teach, the spin, and because it's quite complex, the complexity of the art, and so that's why actually, the kind of the getting to my hand into it. So just started teaching the spins for the players. I think it's just went really well. I mean, it's great in track record, the kind of feedings players to various counties and stuff like that. So, and then most important things, I think, the spin bowling in general is we all need to understand things, because in England we think about, the spinners all about, second inning bowlers. That they got nothing to do with the first innings. All the seamers, Rob, that it's just rock up, just about go through it, and then they all become a bit more second inning bowlers. I think that's wrong, because we got one days, we got 2020s, and then we got red ball cricket. So we have actually because what I realized was actually there are some, the talented bowlers who can actually easily go and play for white ball cricket. And there are some actually type of, spinners, they can actually easily integrate into red ball cricket, because the way they bowl, how they bowl, their mindset, and all sort of stuff that actually works in a certain formats. So it's as important someone who actually specialized, to understands his skills as well as understands the complexity, and then understands the mindset. I mean, often they get whack on the park, and they need to actually someone to be trust and turn up and just say, mate, this is what happened. So what should I do? Right. So it's all about working with them, and it's always been, I feel, it's an apprenticeship. It's a long, the term apprenticeship with the spinners, because you've got to look after them. As I always say, spinners are like a red wine. The older they get it, the better they're at it. So it's just, you need to look after them, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm really proud, the things I did. They got a lot of players been out touch. They've been going playing some, the county cricket, and some of them actually playing international cricket. And some are overseas players and get in touch and get some piece of advice and stuff like that. So which is great. Yeah.
Great. So after a long wait, John, we will go for your introduction. So let us talk about you and obviously your engagement with MCL T20.
Yeah, sure. First of all, I'd like to greet both of our guests, Ranga Mendes and Robert sir. It is a very great pleasure to speak with both of you dignitaries. And as far as about me, myself is Vincent John, and I am representing India's first cricket reality show, that is Maratha Cricket League T20. It's a tournament where we are actually finding the undiscovered cricketing talents, the new ones, the new talent, the hidden talents across India. So as Robert sir is doing, is more like a godfather to the cricketers across the world. And he's like oriented towards finding the new talents across the world, across the globe, and that is what we have initiated in India. So I'm having a lot of questions asked by our players, those who are representing Maratha Cricket League. Actually, we are having around 156 cricketers right now. I'd like to tell you, Saeed sir, I'd like to tell you, Ranga sir and Robert sir, that when we started, at that time, at that particular moment, we were not at all, confident about getting a single player, because it is a new concept, and I was not pretty sure about the number of players we are getting enrolled in our particular tournament. But yes, by the grace of Almighty God, when we started, when we initiated, people took interest in us, players took interest in us, and they trusted us. And right now we are moving forward to showcase this particular league in front of the world, all by the God's grace. And it's a very good pleasure to speak with both of you. Our players are having a lot of questions. Anyhow, I have shortlisted few good questions for both of you, and I'll be speaking further regarding the questions.
Yes, John, that's great. So let's have the questionnaire part holding for a bit. Sorry for that particular part, but then I have few particular, what do we say, questions or a big doubt for all the cricket players or the cricket enthusiasts across the globe. So the reason why I'm doing this is that because most of the cricket players, especially in India, who are impacted because of the corona pandemic, is because at this point of time, I do understand Ranga and Rob might be aware, because I also keep coming to Oxfordshire for the games over there, and even my brother, he's an overseas professional for Oxford. So I do understand that this is the exact peak time for all the cricket players to initiate the summer cricket, and that is the exact time when this corona pandemic has hit, and it has hit very bad to cricket players because of the World Cup, because of the IPO, because of the English season, and a lot more. So the biggest question which arises is corona pandemic versus cricket. So how do we look at it when we come towards your geographical region of the cricketing domain? Like how has it impacted the spin bowling clinic of Iranga and the cricket exchange domain of Rob? So I would like to understand from Iranga first, how has it impacted you?
Oh, that's massive, right? It's no doubt about it. I think Rob just touched on that one before. I mean, at one stage we don't know, what sort of cricket that we can actually play in this summer, because there's quite uncertain, and we had to in line with the government, the guidance, and that's one of the things. I mean, we work with players, and they're quite vulnerable, So my business is pretty much, sat down for March, and that was the last time I actually kind of coach. And then I luckily got back in 2 weeks ago. It's quite a, it's about good 2.5 months of, the cricket's been actually lost that way. So then we're still in the conversations, I think with the county cricket, I think we might get some sort of white ball crickets, a bit more one days or two T20s. I think that they probably consider not to actually have the championship because it's just a long run. But I think recreational cricket, I think there are some, the guidance the ECB need to be put on. So we're pretty much in line with the ECB. We heavily rely on the ECB. Whatever they're told and what the guidance they lay out that we have to follow, whatever that we do. I mean, that physically, we can do one-to-ones and we can do some small group sessions up to 5 players and a coach in total so far. I'm sure in that, some point the ECB look into this being expanded to maybe, the large groups. But at this stage, they're just reviewing how things work, and then hopefully, we can actually get some sort of cricket in the back end of the season. That's how they affected to my. There's no cricket for a good 2.5 months. Yeah.
Right, Aranga. And let's talk about Rob. How has that affected to you and your network, which we were talking about?
Yeah, I mean, as I think I said before, we'd had about 190 guys lined up to come and play cricket this summer. And it's not just that they come to play cricket, it's that they come to coach junior cricketers as well, in a lot of cases. And the good coaching that these guys do when they come over with the youth section or the ladies section is just almost just as important as what they do on the field. But, we've gone from having, one of our best ever years to having the rug completely pulled out from underneath us. Some of those players that we'd have done deals for this year were local or living in the UK, but we've essentially got 190 overseas cricketers that now have nowhere to go, will not have anywhere to go this year. And, whilst, yes, there's significant financial losses for us as a business, for some of the guys that come over, what they earn when they come over, that funds their life in their home country for the rest of the year. I mean, you have some guys from, say, Pakistan and India and Sri Lanka that come over, and what they can earn in the 5 months here is enough to keep things ticking along nicely at home. And for those guys are the ones that that I worry for, because they've got families to feed and kids and things like that. And I know that Sri Lanka, for instance, has handled the coronavirus a lot better than other places. Like New Zealand and Australia have handled it pretty well. But the impact here is we've not only got 190 guys that don't get to come over and play cricket. If they're at a club that's got 50 juniors, well, there's 5,000 kids that aren't getting coached, or 2,000 ladies that aren't getting coached, and the impact is it's catastrophic. And for us as a business, even if we manage to start cricket, say in July, that doesn't really impact our business because no one's going to be bringing these guys over for the last part of the season. But on a personal level, I still play cricket, and I think for people's sanity, just being able to get out and about and play some cricket, even if it's just friendly cricket, will be something. But I think the communication from the ECB has been a bit slow. The football and everyone else seems to have been ahead of the game to say, well, when this happens, this is what we're going to do, and when this happens, this is what we're going to do. And the ECB have been very reactive rather than proactive. But their concern has clearly lied around what happens with the professional game and getting that back on, and recreational cricket, I think, seems to be a bit of an afterthought. But recreational cricket's so important for people's mental health. Just being able to get out and play cricket and see your mates, and even if that's in a social distance and modified capacity, I think just letting people being able to get out and spend their time, just playing cricket and doing what they love. Because when it's a nice English summer, which it has been to date, it's been quite tragic. Usually there's a very lot of rain around, and we've had a perfect summer so far for cricket. I think I worked out that last weekend would have been the first weekend we'd been rained out from cricket all summer. So, it's been perfect cricketing weather, and the impact is not just for the overseas players that don't get to come over, but it's those kids that miss out on coaching. Like with Aranga, he's got all of his lads that he coaches that they're all just missing out on doing the things they enjoy. And life's so short. You've got to do the things that you enjoy. Otherwise, there's no point living. So, the impact on our business from a financial sense is horrific, but we'll soldier on. Our clubs have supported us. A lot of clubs have paid us for the work that we've done, because for us, between August, September, and March, not only have we arranged the deals, but we've done visas and we've arranged flights and all of these kinds of things. So all the work is pretty much done. It's like growing a crop, and you get ready to go and harvest it, and all of a sudden you get a flood that wipes it all out. You've done all the work, you've put all the work in. All you need to do is just strip the crop and send it to the grain man for your money. And we were pretty much to that stage where we'd done everything. All we needed guys to do was get on the plane and come and play cricket, and the rug just came out from underneath us. And we're a very resilient family. We, financially, yes, it hurts, but we'll bounce back. But the concern from my point of view is that we have a lot of guys that really relied on being able to come here and earn money to keep things ticking over for them at home, and they're not able to do that, and that's heartbreaking for a lot of those guys. And even the young amateurs that are, say, coming from Australia on a working holiday to play a bit of cricket and work and things, these guys have kind of saved their money for the trip of a lifetime to go and experience playing the game they love on the other side of the world, and that's just been taken away from them, and that's heartbreaking for people. Never mind the money involved. People get so excited for these life experiences that, fortunately, we're able to facilitate. That it's just heartbreaking for them. The first priority obviously is to remain healthy and safe, and that's very important. But the sooner we can get onto the cricket field, and even if it's a shortened season, for instance, if we've only got a kind of 8 or 10 week window that we can play cricket, maybe some localized cup competitions or some knockouts or some sort of a mini World Cup format where you play 5 or 6 pool games, and then the top 2 in each pool going to go off and play a bit of a final series, or just something to give people a bit of something to play for. Because I know they say we'll play some friendly cricket, but I've never played too many friendly games of cricket.
Right, Rob. So let's move on to John. John, how has it impacted to your tournament? Because I've been watching it closely, and still I would like to hear it from your side.
Rather than speaking about our tournament, about MCL, it has affected the world badly, every aspect. In spite of cricket, it has affected every sector. And if we speak about cricket, then it has impacted a lot to the world cricket. A cricketer, particularly a cricketer, is totally dedicated to the particular sport, and nothing is more heartbreaking rather than to stop anyone to play. And nobody can help right now, as Robert sir was just now telling, that it is very heartbreaking. But now, first priority is to stay safe. First priority is to stay healthy, and let's hope for the good. And let me speak about MCL. Yes, it has affected, as we were supposed to showcase the particular reality show in the month of June, in the month of May and June. But now we are looking forward to showcase this particular show in the month of November and December. And this particular courtship period, I will say, it is affecting the form of players, it is affecting the mentality of the players, and somehow few of them are getting depressed that it was the first real opportunity to showcase our talent in front of the world, and now everything is it is looking dicey. But now it's not like that. We are here. We all are united. Saeed sir is himself is a part of jury member of MCL T20, and he is very closely connected to each and every player of Maratha Cricket League. So Saeed sir, you might be knowing that we are trying our level best to keep the spirit of the players high in this particular pandemic situation. So more or less, we are having 156, more than 156 players across India. Those who are literally those who are power packed with cricketing skills, and it is more like a dream come true sort of platform to the cricketers, to this particular talents. And to wait for around 6 months, to wait for a half year, is something heartbreaking for the players of MCL.
Right, John, right. So moving on to the other question which I have, this one is a little bit more dicey, and obviously it would be a concerning part to all the cricket players, be it for John, Eranga, and Rob. Uh, the question is, we do know the guidelines for the corona has come out from the ICC, and there is one particular point which me as a medium based bowler as well as my brother, so we are really concerned about that, is not using of saliva. So that is a part of a question which is around, like I've been asking to most of the cricket players who have been, or the cricket enthusiasts who have been coming onto this particular discussion. And probably, I haven't had any kind of concrete answer to that. That what if the saliva part or the, shine maintenance of a ball part is taken away from the game? Where does it take a medium pacer bowler or a bowler who is more keen of reverse swinging the ball during the depth overs or the middle overs, be it in any format? So what happens to that? So Erina, your take on that, like how do you see this particular guideline as a challenge to a bowler?
Well, I think it's not just about the seamers. I think kind of equally effective for the spinners, because if you're trying to one side the ball, then that's where we're going to get some drift. It's just the given the bowlers to work with it. So I think that going to take out away from, and then it just became more batters game, isn't it? It's just there's nothing on it, and they just smacking the ball. So I think we already know that the game is already dictated by the batters. Is nothing for bowlers rely on with playing on one of the flattest wickets around the world. And plus on top of that, that's going to be quite the heartbreaking for spin bowlers and fast bowlers, I guess. So yeah, I think I can't really get my head around and just see how this is going to work in the long run. But again, I think because probably about the pandemic situation, that's might be the reasons. But I'm sure that other times we can move away from this, and we can back into normality, and then we can start to use that again. And for me, I mean, yeah, spinners, they good luck for them. If there's nothing on the air, it's quite heartbreaking. So yeah. I think that's my answer. So again, we can't really control anything that, because we have to, they pretty much, in line with the ICC, ECB rules and whatever that, the cricket governor is going to take, the decisions. But overall, I think it's quite, the disaster, the point for the bowler's point of view, in my opinion.
Because, I do understand that, the power play is already in place, that the bowler cannot, move around with the fielders or, play around with the fielders. And now then this saliva part will also come into the picture. So the bowler is just there to get tonked around in the park.
Quite comprehensively, yeah.
Right. So Rob, let's hear it from you. I do understand that you, with your network, I do understand that there would be a huge number of bowlers who would be sitting on your back, and they would also be, looking at this particular discussion as where does this particular thing goes? Because as I said, that I haven't ever got a concrete answer to this, as even Eranga is also, in the clouds, like what will happen. So your take on that?
Yeah, I think from what I've seen from the ECB, I think it'll just come down to no saliva on the ball. I've always been a sweat user rather than a saliva user. And from my understanding,
just to notify you, even sweat is not allowed.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, I thought they'd said sweat was because it's not transmitted via sweat. I mean, look, there's enough clever people around to come up with some kind of, I guess, a wax or some kind of, kind of material that maybe the umpire could hang onto it, and the captain says to the umpire once whilst you're changing ends, maybe that's the time you're allowed to apply this kind of wax or something at the. You can keep polishing the ball on your whites during the over, but actually at the end of the over, maybe you can apply some kind of wax or some kind of appropriate substance that, while you're in between overs, you can give it a bit of a wax, give it a bit of a rub, and you can do that between while the change of ends is happening, because then you're not impacting on the game so much. The game has definitely become a batsman dominant game, and I think failing someone coming up with an appropriate substance to be able to put on the game, maybe the umpire could stand out there with a bit of electrical tape, and we'll just tape up one side of the ball about halfway through the game to give the bowlers some advantage.
It is a bit of funny part, but yeah, I'm really interested with the wax part which you just suggested, because I was like discussing the same thing with the former Indian player Deep Das Gupta, and I was suggesting like, okay, if there could be a particular process wherein a bowler will be allocated the semi-shined ball in X number of overs. So like maybe in the 50 overs format game, they can say after the 45th over you will get that ball. So it is something similar to what you do as the ball change during the ball shape is out. So that is something which I was.
In fact, Saeed sir, one of our player had a similar sort of question as well. Can we shine the ball with sanitizer, if you remember?
I don't think so. I think it would more likely create it would kind of add on a weight to a side of a ball, which I can understand from the bowler perspective, that it will keep adding on a weight, and obviously at a certain level because of the alcohol integrant in the sanitizer, it may take the shape of the ball away from its original portion. So adding to that question, what's your take, Aranga?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we're a bit more out of the air, so we got some ideas, but again, we can put some ideas, but the people who make the decisions, who make the final decisions, I think why they bring this into their situation because of the pandemic, I'm sure that it's a bit more temporary things. That's my take on. I'm sure that when this goes, when they're finished and all back to the normal, and then the players can use for the unique techniques that shine their ball and stuff like that. And some, for instance, maybe actually use some jelly beans, isn't it, to shine in the ball. So that might be a good handy way to do it as well. So yeah, I mean, look, I not think that there's something that we need to be bogged down too much, but I'm thinking this is a temporary thing. I think this probably going to go away when the Warriors goes, and then we probably would see, because I think the bowlers, fast bowlers, spin bowlers, they both need to be able to be shine, and we don't know how much experiment that the wax can do, and then what the impact the ball will have after a certain amount of overs. And I think that they need to come to some sort of conclusions how this is going to work. But I think I believe this is going to be a bit more temporary things, because I think there are quite a lot of vengeance comes from the bowlers, of course. They need to have a certain shape of the balls and stuff like that. Especially playing a Test match cricket, it's all about ball and a wicket, isn't it? So I think it's just that's the way it goes. Yeah.
The other option in Test cricket is sorry to cut you off, Syed. The other option in Test cricket is to have what they have in one-day cricket, where they have a new ball from each end. Maybe that's a bit of a fair compromise. Is have a new ball at either end, like they do in one days, just to give the bowlers a fair chance.
Maybe yes. maybe we can work on that part, but then that is all a discussion part as of right now. What goes in the exact paper scenario from the ICC is something which we don't know, and I really agree with Aranga that it's a temporary thing which we are looking at. So yeah, we did come up with a particular, unfortunate news of Mushraf Murtaza of Bangladesh, who was the former captain as well. He wasn't tested positive for corona, which is a news just yesterday in the evening, and that kind of creates a concern part for all the cricketers. Like, okay, even if you're not playing cricket, then also you're getting affected. So what's the point?
Yeah.
So, John,
of course, it's only a problem if someone you're playing cricket with has coronavirus, isn't it? If the 22 blokes playing on a Saturday, none of them have got coronavirus, it's not a problem. It's business as usual. It's only if one of those 22 blokes has got coronavirus that it's a problem. And I guess the ECB are like a lot of things. It comes down to being liable. If they tell people they can go back and play cricket, not follow these guidelines, and it's business as usual, someone gets sick and dies, then is the ECB to blame because they said you can go and play cricket again? And everyone's so petrified of being sued these days that I think it's just like you say, Mashrafi's caught it and he's not even playing cricket. So why wouldn't you let people get on with it and be pragmatic about how they manage their lives? If you're not feeling well, don't go and play cricket. Or, stay away.
Right. So even like we will have to add that particular rule towards the rule book of ICC that if all the 22 blokes come onto the ground and one of them gets tested positive, then the match is abandoned. We need to add that as well. Right. So there are a lot of things. So John, your take on this particular discussion?
On an optimistic note, I'm very much convinced with the opinion of both Robert and Aranga. Like as Robert told, we can also look for some wax or some sort of substance through which we can shine the ball. And as he told, it is temporary. Definitely, it is going to be a temporary thing. Amen and amen. It is going to be a temporary thing because nothing will stop the world until and unless the Almighty will wish. Second thing, you know what? It is in nature of a bowler. Being a bowler myself, it is in nature of a bowler that he uses his saliva to shine the ball. It is in nature of a bowler. So you cannot change the nature of a particular a sportsman. You can change the rules, but it is very much difficult to change the nature of a sports person, because we have been using saliva to shine the ball from years and years. And suddenly, if some rules will change, it is definitely going to change the timing of the match. It is definitely going to change the entire, the scene of cricket, I think.
Right. It is more like telling Aranga and Mendes to suddenly stop bowling off spins and start bowling pacers like Malinga.
I think at recreational level, it doesn't really make much difference because you usually get to about the 8th or 10th over, and the guy at mid-off that's been shining it for the last 5 overs says, "Which side were we shining again?" And he's been doing both intermittently.
Okay. So keeping aside the funny part, talking about something which is in India, which is known as a lockdown, because I do understand it has not been taken that seriously across the globe. I do understand like some part of UK, we are already playing cricket because of some confusion between the government guidelines and the ECB guidelines. I got a news that, the ECB said during the lockdown, no matches, and the government said matches. Something that kind of confusion happened, but then still the matches are being played over there. Wherein coming to India, you're not even allowed to step outside of your home. So in that particular case scenario, what does a particular cricketer do to obviously keep fit, or if he or she is a spin bowler, what he or she will do, or being on the skill set, how do you keep ticking and watching the time go by and start from where you left it? So it is a big question. Like, okay, let's say from Virat Kohli's perspective, he was playing fluently, he was scoring runs, and suddenly it's a lockdown, no grounds, no cricket, and again, after a certain X number of months, he comes to the ground with no practice, nothing. So where does the rhythm leaves him pertaining to cricket and his skill set? Iranga, your take.
Yeah, I think I think you just mentioned about the fitness. That's something that outside players we put on the Twitters and Instagrams about their workouts. That's number one. I think that they need to be stay fit. Whatever that given time they have to go and play cricket. The second thing is about the mindset because they're stranded in a house and then they got very limited access, access to what they can do, can't do. I think they can do little drills and stuff like that, and particularly bowlers. And I think I just kind of put stuff in the YouTube about what you can do in the home. Particularly, I'm talking about visualization. The training. That's something that they can visualize and they can actually practice. They just about the might be that the shots that they used to play, maybe something that he wanted to work on, and that will give you a bit of the switched on his his mind and his the reaction and of course that all those flow that he felt a bit more natural to him. And then the other thing is the players can do certain because they're under pressure as well, and it's about contracts and various whatever that stuff things. I think that's also can use the time for kind of mind power techniques for them to actually kind of ease away, because that way they can actually reflect on what sort of cricket they actually play and then what they wanted to be improved. Maybe then get into some sort of conversation with the people around the world and just about get some few bit and pieces from them and just get their the brains out and that sort of stuff. So I definitely think it's the fitness, the mind power techniques, and a bit more visualization, some sort of drilling that if you can actually find some space to do it, and that's the best way to do it. And I think I did a video about that. So it just about explains about how the visualization is going to work and helps and applies in particular way. And that will actually not just about because you picture yourself, okay, you're in the middle of the pitch. So that means that you actually still do your techniques and you do your tactics, mentals and physical and executions elements into it. So you literally on your own bubble, you play a game. So you don't actually, even though people are not around you, but you actually just create that situations and scenario within yourself and train your subconscious mind and practice things that works for them. So I think that's one of the things they can actually do in a small garden. They can actually bowl. They not necessarily bowl in the ball, that they can actually feel difference. The certain things, and if it's batters, they can do some shadow drills and stuff like that. There's a lot the available to actually do it. But I think the most important things: fitness, get engaged with the skills you're good at, and then make sure that they expand that your knowledge, been talking to some peoples and experts and coaches, and of course there are some the mind power works that they can do to actually kind of how to handle the pressure and the failures and the stamina and that sort of stuff, and that would be a good time for them to do it. Yeah.
Great.
Uh,
Yes, John.
I'm having a question to Ranga. I want to ask a question to Ranga. Like one day we will definitely we are going to conquer over the situation. One day definitely this pandemic will be over. So how to resume the game? I mean, how to resume the sport, the particular sport, cricket I'm talking about. What shall be the escape plan? I mean, now everyone is inside the home, especially if I'll talk about India. What shall be the perfect escape plan for the cricketers, for the new talents? Like they are continuously not, I mean, they are not into the practice from a long time. I don't know till now, till when it is going to be continued. So whenever the things will be normal, whenever the things will be open, then what shall be the perfect escape plan for the players? How to resume themselves into the cricket?
Well, I think in this case, I think the patient is the word, because bear in mind they stay in the homes for a long time and they come to cricket. Doesn't the environment change, and it takes a bit of time to get back into the rhythms and hitting the balls and bowling the balls and stuff like that. And I can actually sense that because I started 2 weeks ago, start my private coaching, so I can see that already impacted for the players that I coach. So it's just give them a bit more time, not to say much, and just making sure it reminds them what they did used to do and did well, and being patient, not throw so much of the informations for them to actually work on. It just, the ease the way to get into that, the kind of, route, and then hit balls, more balls, and bowl more balls back into the routines. So that's my take on that one, because I think the more we're trying to do with, the now, and a big part getting a bit more confused, things, and that because they haven't been done anything else really. So my biggest words for that is be patient, just making sure, let them settle, and then go with it.
Great, great. One more question I want to ask to Rob. Like, though it is impacting not only cricket, but other sectors as well. But what will be the major impacts of this particular pandemic to cricket, and how to, overcome those particular impact? Like, there are no more, we cannot expect in a couple of years the number of audience which we usually used to see in stadiums. The stadiums will be not that much packed with audience, that is for sure. So there's the major impact which I see. What do you think, Rob? Is it going to impact cricket in a negative way? Will it impact in such a way where people will, lose the charm of cricket? Is it so? What do you
Yeah.
say?
I mean, I think the impact at different levels of the game will be very different. I think from an international cricket perspective, once knowing the English pretty well, once they're allowed to go back into a pub or into a restaurant or into a stadium, whether it's football or cricket, once they're allowed back in, Lords will sell out, the Oval will sell out. Once people are allowed to go back, they'll be back in their numbers for international cricket and probably a 2020 Blast as well. I think where the big impact will come for, say, a county, for instance, is off the field. So a county club will receive their grant from the ECB and a certain amount of funding that'll keep things ticking along for the county. But when your counties, they're not just running cricket clubs, they're running conference centres, they're running dinners, they're running sort of localised events that actually they rely on their local businesses to support and fund that element of the county cricket club. So when you've got your big fancy dinner at say £50 a head and you'll sell 200 tickets, it's the businesses and the people that buy tickets to those events that are impacted on a wider scale. So I think it's that non-cricket income that people rely upon, that the counties rely upon, and that'll knock down to clubs. It's, can a parent who's been furloughed and lost their job afford to buy their kid the cricket equipment? Can they afford to pay the subs and things like that? And there's a lot of kind of, I guess, non-cricket streams of money that come into the game that will be affected, because it's, in Naranga's case, it might be that parents can't afford the one-to-one tutelage, because they've lost a lot of their income, and or they've lost their job, or they've been furloughed, and those little fringe special things that you do in your life because you've got a little bit of freedom or a little bit of money left over to be able to afford those. I think a lot of those little luxuries will disappear in the short term. I think the UK will bounce back. It doesn't matter what's happened in the world over the last 2,000 years. I think when bird flu was around, we were all going to die, and we didn't. Humans just find a way to bounce back, and there'll be a bit of short-term pain, but I think eventually things will get back to normal. We'll see full stadiums watching international cricket. We'll see no one at county championship cricket, but we'll see a few at the Blast. And I think eventually things will go back to as they were. I think the big thing out of the pandemic is that people will just generally be a little bit more considerate about your personal space. I think people, one thing I've noticed, my wife's a very bad asthmatic, and so during the lockdown, I've been the one to go and do the shopping and all of those kind of things. And the one thing I've really noticed is people are a lot more polite and considerate of your own space. So I think if the worst thing that happens out of this pandemic is that people become a little bit more politer and kinder to each other, I think that's not a bad thing.
Great, great. So it is kind of teaching us to be humans in a way. So that is a
You're
great
right.
thing. Right.
Yes.
So to conclude this particular discussion, we'll move on to John. I believe you had some questions from your players for Rob and
Yes,
Eranga. Please go ahead.
yes. So I'm having a hell lot of questions with me, but I have shortlisted 4 questions for each of them. And let us start on an alphabetical order with Iranga. So here's a player. Iranga, I want to ask you one thing. You are from an era of like your teammate was Sanat Jayasuriya. Sanat Jayasuriya was also a batsman turned bowler. And in the same way, you were also a batsman particularly. Primarily, you were a batsman, and as you only said that you turned out to be an off spinner. So this is my question. This is not the question of any other player. This is my question. In which role you are more comfortable, you think? In batting or as an spinner?
I think, look, mine's a bit more changed. I think when I started more batsman, I liked, I liked, the player like Sanat Jayasuriya and Brian Charles Lara, and that kind of, the heroes that in mind. And then when I get older, so I became, genuine all rounder, but in a bat and ball. Then when I came to UK, and then I became a bit more according to the club. That if they want to be on the batsman, then I became a batsman. If they want to be a bowler, then I became a bowler. And at one stage, I think the last seasons I played probably about Wimbledon in 2010 or 2011. For the last time I played, I was a bowler, just bowling, because it's not formal training. Just rock up the day, then just like the traditional club cricketer do. And then just bowl, and that's what it is. But I think some players can change their their abilities from batting to bowling. And I know that Kevin Peterson turned up the international the cricket as an off-spin bowler for England. Then he turned into one of the great batsmen that England ever produced. So they changed. So some players are pretty much, they're one-dimensional. So if there's a batsman that they've been batting all their life, and some of them are bowlers, they just all do their bowling. So some players do have that, the ability to, they change their role to bat into the ball. So I think it's all to do with the person and the personality.
Superb. Now, coming to the questions of our players. Actually, I'd like to tell you, Ranga, we are having around 156 players across India whom we have shortlisted. They are exceptional talents, and among them, around 40 are spinners. Around 40 players are spinners, and
Right.
like they are such spinners. Like even you will admire them. Like they are extraordinary talents. Um, in a very short span of time, you'll come to know about them. So one of the spinner among our players is Shyam Lakshman Dodiar from Rajasthan, India. He's a leg spinner basically, and he wants to ask you how to bowl a left-handed batsman, as he's a leg spinner. How to bowl a left-handed batsman in the final over of a match to bowl him out. This is the question.
Multi-million-dollar questions, Rob. Well, I'll tell you what. The great thing to have, attack the batsman, get the batsman out, and that's the mental, the mindset should be, whether ball him out or get him out in nutshell. But for the left-handed batsman bowling leg spin, it depends on the number of things. I can't really give an exact answer because I don't know what situations, and we haven't seen anything else, right? So the number of things can change. The number one is the type of batsman, what he's looking to play, whether he's leg side, predominantly play leg side, or looking to play, he's good at playing both sides of the wicket, or good at playing, the straight down the wicket. And that's number one, the skill of the bowler. And the number two, the type of wicket you're bowling at. So whether you have a bit of the rough on the pitch, is there something that bowler to work on, and that's number 2. Number 3 is the type of bowler and his skill level, how much confidence and control that he has, right? And then obviously the format that he plays, what sort of format is that? 2020 cricket or one-day cricket or the red ball cricket? That's it.
So specifically on 2020 cricket.
2020 cricket, yeah, that's right. And then what situations that he's at. So, and then whether he's bowling, is that 10 runs to win of the last 6 balls, and the situation, and the number of things, and the wind, and all the weather and stuff like that. So, I'm afraid, I think also what we need to see that and how much more about the batsman, what he do, whether he's a leg-sided player, off-sided player, is good at both sides of the wicket. I think that's where you have to bowl. But I think traditionally, the traditional leg break, leg spinners, what they do for the left-handers, pitch outside the off-time and just trying to get it through the gate, and that's what they do. But again, it depends on the batsman, the pitch, the situations, and his mindset and everything's like that. So
Certainly.
I will get some sort of an answer to your question.
Yes, I understand, because the question is not an appropriate one, because I can understand it depends on the condition, it depends on the particular situation you're in a particular game. So now coming to Robert, I'm having one question from one of our players. Is Abhishek Bhavsar from Dhule, Maharashtra, and he wants to ask you, what are the parameters of World Sports Exchange for the new talents, for the players to get a platform on an international level?
I think for young players that haven't yet touched into first class cricket, then I think platforms like you're providing through the MCL is the best exposure that they can probably get, especially if you're getting a bit of live streaming and things like that. It's really hard with the way that the immigration laws and things have changed with the ECB over the last 3 or 4 years. You used to be able to get young amateur cricketers come over, no issues. They could get their flights and accommodation covered, as long as they had a family that could kind of financially support them while they're over here, and that can continue to happen. But what they've introduced over the last couple of years is some grey area around pathway cricket. So Marnus Labuschagne, for instance, came over when he'd been involved in the Queensland under-19s team but hadn't yet played first-class cricket. Under the rules today, he wouldn't be able to come and play club cricket in the UK because he played what's called pathway cricket. So if you've got someone that's played Maharashtra under-19s at an under-19 level in the Bahar Trophy or any of the young trophies, is it the Cooch Behar Trophy and these sort of age group competitions? Yes. Yeah, if you've got young cricketers that have played in those competitions, they're deemed to be on a pathway towards professional cricket, and thus they're not allowed to come here and play as an amateur overseas cricketer because they're deemed to be on this mystical pathway to first class cricket. And in a country like India, where you've got millions upon millions of people that want to be professional cricketers, someone that gets selected for the Bengal under-17s I'm probably closer to playing for India than someone that plays Bengal under-17s, because you're so far away from that professional life of sport at 16 or 17 or 18 years old. Who knows what's going to happen? I've seen loads of incredibly talented 18, 19-year-olds that are lost to the game by 21 because they lose interest. Just to determine that people can't come and play sport on the other side of the world because they may go on to bigger and better things is a little bit short-sighted, I think. And for young players like those that are going to come through the MCL competition, I think you certainly use that as a platform. But I think with organisations like the European Cricket Network and the European Cricket League, I'm not sure if you've seen those, that are really driving European cricket as a platform for the growth of the game. And I think in time, as the sport grows on continental Europe, that actually maybe some of these opportunities for young cricketers to come over and test their game in the off season may sort of come about again, because I think as cricket grows in Europe and there's suggested big growth in America, there's been a lot of proposed investment in the game in the States, and I think as time goes on, people because we've moved. I mean, all of us live. I mean, Aranga and I both. Neither of us live in the country where we were raised. I think the world's becoming smaller, and as people, end up in different parts of the world, they want to play the game that they love. And I think cricket will continue to grow, where you've got people like Dan Weston pushing the European Cricket League. So I think there'll be opportunities for these young guys in time, but at the moment, a lot of these opportunities have become quite limited through policymakers and people that actually aren't anything to do with cricket, which is a shame. And that's generally because there's been the select few that have broken the rules and have come to the UK on the wrong visa, or they've stayed here and never gone back, etc. That have kind of forced the government's hand to a degree as to what people can come and do in the UK on a short-term basis without posing a risk to not leaving. So I don't want to get too political because I hate it. I come from a family of politicians, so I don't like talking politics. But unfortunately, politics will affect your promising young cricketers, not just from India, but all over the world. Young talented guys that might have played for their country at under-19 level that would then use a couple of seasons in the UK as stepping stones to becoming better cricketers. That path's now blocked in the UK, which is really sad. But don't let those young guys lose hope just because they can't come and play cricket in England, because as the world grows and gets smaller and smaller with technology, there'll be other opportunities for them to play in other parts of the world soon enough.
One thing I want to add in the particular question. First of all, let me tell you the particular poster which you have, behind you. It was scaring me.
The Joker.
No, it's a Joker. It was scaring me, but now, while speaking with you, you have made me quite comfortable to speak with you. You are just the opposite personality from that particular poster, which is scaring me. Anyhow, let me tell you a bit about MCL, Robert, Maratha Cricket League. It is, as I told you, it is India's first cricket reality show, and we are focusing to the talents, to the raw talents, those who never get platform in a proper cricket structure in our country. Okay, they are talented, they know that they are talented, they have attended a lot of trials, they have gone there and there and there, but they have been they never get the right platform to showcase their strength, their potential. And what we are doing, we have gathered all of them. We came across around 10,000 new talents, 10,000 hidden talents across India, like from north to south, from east to west. We have came across 10,000 plus cricketers across India. It was a very long process, to gather them and to shortlist best of the best out of them. So the 156 players which we are having right now in the tournament in MCL, they will make you astonished, like the way they play. Like, there are a lot of batsmen in MCL. They can hit 100 meter six with an ease, though they are lacking some they are not that much professionals as others are, those who are playing the particular tournaments which you said. They have most of them, they have never represented under 19
Okay,
but
so
still, sorry.
I believe we lost you for a bit.
I've got you back now, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I was telling you. They are power packed with the skills. And one more thing, we have also kept we are looking forward to give an international exposure to the players. The top 30 participants of Maratha Cricket League, we want to send them to England. Also, I was having words with a lot of sports agencies over UK to give them an exposure there to play with the local cricket clubs in England. And we will be sending top 30 participants of MCL to UK to get them trained professionally there, to get them an exposure of international cricket in overseas. So in the particular way, you are, like, as Saeed sir told that you are godfather of cricketers, a lot of cricketers across the world, and I do believe. Oh, my question is, if we are trying to get them, if we are trying to find the raw talents, the exceptional talents, we are giving them platform to showcase their talent. So now, what they can expect from you, or they can expect from World Sports Exchange, how we can come together, and how the players can be, given a platform to play there, at least for
Yeah.
club cricket.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure whether club cricket will kind of give them the exposure that they ultimately want. I mean,
Yes.
for them to get exposure, I mean, what is exposure? I think exposure is being visible and being seen in television or live streaming, and I think that's really the way that people are going to be able to. It's never been easier to get yourself a bit of exposure,
Sorry
whether
to
it be
interrupt.
through a bit of
Sorry to
press.
interrupt, Robert. Sorry to interrupt. Maratha Cricket League is, I mean, we will be, it will be live telecasted.
Yeah. So I mean, that's as good a platform as anyone could hope for, is to be, to play cricket on television. To be able to play cricket on television, there's no kind of greater exposure than that. Playing club cricket in the UK is certainly the complete opposite of that. I mean, you play club cricket here, and you might get 30 people, if you're lucky, down watching you play cricket on a Saturday. And I think the greater alternative for those top players that have come through the MCL would be to do more of a tour than just coming to play club cricket. I think if you put a squad together from MCL to come over and play against whether it be league representative sides, minor counties, county second 11 sides, and to give those cricketers exposure playing against other good young cricketers is going to do their cricket so much better than just coming over and playing as a big fish in a small pond in club cricket. I think if you were to bring a squad of MCL players to the play as much cricket against really, really competitive county second 11 teams and things like that is going to be great. Not because exposure, it's about their development as cricketers, and coming over and hitting a 45-year-old part-time medium pacer for 100 off 35 balls isn't what it's about for the growth of players that are playing at the level of the MCL T20. I think to come to the UK, Scotland, Ireland, where there's also lots of good cricket being played, is to play against Scotland or play against Ireland or Ireland A or Scotland A, and to really push those guys along, because I think coming from the subcontinent where the batting conditions tend to be fairly friendly as a batsman, I think coming to the UK as batsmen is, if you can score runs in England, you can score runs anywhere. For those guys that really are the cream out of the MCL tournament once it's completed, I think your better option is actually to funnel these guys into a tour where they don't just come and play cricket for 20 weeks and be the big guy at an amateur cricket club. I think for the benefit of those guys to go on to bigger and better things, I think you need to concentrate their cricket towards playing against better cricketers, and coming over and playing against Yorkshire second 11 or a combined Yorkshire, Lancashire, whatever, minor counties teams, those sorts of things. Even next year, if you were to bring the MCL team over next year, if everything's normalised and I've got 190 players in the country, then it could be the MCL versus WSX, a team of my professionals that play against them. And there's a lot of options for you, but I think if they're looking for exposure and to improve, if they're coming just from a base level in India or Sri Lanka, to come over and play club cricket's a good gauge for where your cricket's at. But if they've come through a tournament like the MCL where they've really been deemed to be the cream of the crop across the entire country, I think just coming to play club cricket might be a little bit of a backward step to a degree. And it's really about getting those guys to that next level, and I think they need to play against the stronger opposition to get to that next level.
Super. Thanks a lot, Robert, for your answer. Now, let me come back to Iranga. Iranga, one of our player, Mustaq Hussain, he is from Rajasthan. He's an off spinner, and he is having his question: when you bowl good, but still went for many runs in an over, along with a drop catch, how will you control the nerves and keep bowling with calm mind? What is the key?
Yeah, I mean, we as spinners have a bad days and a good days in office, right? So bad days, your own players are dropping, some, easy dollies, but then, there's some good balls being whacking out of the park. So that's a part of, the part of the art. But I think that's what I say. I'm a huge believer. I think the way I teach, the spinners is about more to do with the mindset. It's about, the how that their stamina, that, being able to big heart, being able to hold those in and then go and bowl the next ball. Because if you bowl a ball that was a drop catch and that's in the past, there's nothing you can't really, reflect back into it. If you're trying to do it, I think that's the worst situation. And if you bowl into a batsman that you think that he's actually going to go really hard at you, that the moment you go a bit, because I think they still need to look in to get the batsman out, than actually been thinking a bit more negativity behind it. So for that answer, I think you got to be next ball and understand. I think that's with they're trying to bowl your best ball as possible, isn't it? So the best ball sometimes go out of the park, and the best ball sometimes you take the wickets. That's the way. So you're gonna head down and walk back on the top of the mark, and then just trying to bowl the ball again, and trying to deceive the batsman, get the batsman out. But as I say, you often have a bad days than a good days in office. So unfortunately, it's one of these things that you have to move on, but and then understands about the nature, right? So we all human, we all do mistakes, and so that's the way I feel. I'll see it. But a lot to do with the mental preparation. Just let it go. You still need to be a hunter. They always call the spinners on three pillars. The one is being an eagle eye, and you always look the way to get the batsman out, look at all the clues. And then I'll say the other thing is a big heart. And on that side, you probably get under the pump in whacking the ball all over the park. And the other things I call a smart operator, having know your plan, having understands about the batsman, and you've been a smart operator to get the batsman out. You work it out the ways to get him out. And so that's the best way you can describe the spin bowler. So I hope they get the answer.
Yes, yes, certainly, certainly. Beautiful answer, beautifully answered by you. So now coming back to Robert, one of our player, Himanshu Monat from Madhya Pradesh. He wants to ask you, what are the difficulties that are to be faced by the foreign players for the same? For the same means, what are the difficulties? Okay, what are the difficulties that are to be faced by the foreign players to get a platform through some agencies like World Sports Exchange to get an opportunity to come to overseas?
Yeah, I think it's probably pretty similar to what I'd said before. Is the landscape of how to get those opportunities has changed a little bit from a visa and travel perspective, so a lot of leagues and clubs are kind of steering away from allowing amateur overseas players because of the change to the rules. A lot of leagues are trying to kind of protect clubs from themselves with regards to what they are and aren't allowed to have. I mean, the biggest roadblocks, if you put yourself in an English club's shoes, and you're looking at the options that you have as to who you engage as your overseas cricketer for the year, a lot of your decision making will be based around statistical performance. If you're looking for a fast bowler, you'll look at their strike rate, the wickets. You might get one or two references about what they references from coaches and things and people that know them, or that you might know that give you a valued opinion. And it's just having information that's reliable so that you can make an informed decision. And if you look at New Zealand, Australia and South Africa to a degree, which provide most of the amateur players to the UK, they all have a system in place where their performances can be tracked. I've had some pretty fanciful CVs sent to me over the years from players all over the world. Everyone's, I've had many players that have amazingly played for their national under-19 team and their state under-19 team, but when you go to actually search that, the information's not correct. And as an agent, you can't take everyone on. But if you look at if you looked at my books, I take as many as I feel I can on, and I never turn anyone away if I feel they've been very honest with the information that they've provided. And the big thing from a club, if you're making a decision and you've got a CV in front of you that is not supported by black and white information in the shape of statistics, it's very hard, unless it is very hard to go against what you can see in front of you. And in India, I don't believe there's a system in place outside of first class cricket, which is obviously tracked through Cricinfo or Cricket Archive, where the performances of players are tracked through those means. There's not really a one central club platform that track performance of players in India. That's potentially a logistical issue because of the sheer volume of people that are playing the game. But from an administrative point of view, I think if there was the equivalent of Play Cricket or My Cricket available in India for clubs to track and track their leagues and results and statistics, that would help the cause for young Indian amateur players to come and play in the UK, because it just comes down to what you can see. And if you're a cricket club making a decision between two players, you'll go with the one that's got evidentiary, statistics. I mean, it's the same with professional cricketers. ESPN, Cricinfo, and Cricket Archive are wonderful resources for statistics. And if you're looking at comparing players, someone that averages 15 with the bat in first class cricket against someone that averages 35 with the bat, well, you can make an informed decision when you've got the information you need. So in terms of barriers, there's kind of visa and political issues that are some barriers, but I think information is key. And I get a lot of CVs and a lot of emails from players that just list every team that they've played for, but there's actually nothing to support and back that up. And when I'm charging people to provide a service to send them a very good cricketer, whilst on paper it looks very, very good, I've got nothing to back it up. So the one thing we've sort of moved towards over the last couple of years is video recordings of players. Setting up the tripod at the end of the net, being able to kind of provide footage of players and their technique so that people can make an even more informed decision. And that doesn't always mean it's easier for players to get a deal, but it's just more information that a club has to make a decision on.
Right, great. Sorry to interrupt, John, and great discussion, Rob, obviously. So I would like to interrupt and probably conclude this discussion, because we had a crunch time of 45 minutes and we have already passed that. And obviously the discussion keeps getting better and better as we keep speaking about different topics, and it will not end. And on the other hand, I do have Aringa who has to attend his coaching session as well. So to conclude all those parts, I would like to say yes, John did a great part covering that question, which I was also having about that poster behind the wall, and it's obviously a great one. So yes, Aringa, it was great to have that discussion with you, and Rob, to have the discussion about the cricket exchange, because I have been kind of doing this thing for the players over here, obviously the first class players over here who are planning to go over to UK and play around there. So even I'm doing the same thing for my brother, and all these players are pretty keen to come over there and showcase their skills, not only for the fact of the money, and even I used to come over there to volunteer for a chance to shine. Again, the global pandemic has put everything of the tables right now. So Eranga, thank you very much for your time today. Rob, thank you very much for your time today. It was a
Thanks
really
for having us.
great brainstorming session. And if ever, any time when you ever drop into India, specifically in the western zone of Maharashtra, you are always welcome over to my place, be to my academy, and always a great dinner at my place. So you are always welcome for that, both of you, whenever it makes, whenever it, the destiny gets you to India over here. So thank you, Aranga.
Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
John, and thank you, Rob.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
I'll also
Thanks.
like to conclude. I'll also like to conclude from my end. Thanks a lot, Ranga sir. Thanks a lot, Robert sir. It was a great pleasure to speaking with both of you. And as Saeed Bhai told, as Saeed sir told, I mean, whenever you will be in Maharashtra, whenever you will come here, uh, definitely you are going to have a dinner with him. On the very next day, you are going to dinner with me. You are going to have dinner with me.
That's good because I like the food.
Sure,
All right.
sure.
Okay,
Thanks,
then.
guys.
See you guys.
Bye-bye. That was lovely.
Bye.
Well done.
Welcome you,
Thanks, guys.
welcome you here, and also we'll look forward to, get in touch with you regularly for regarding MCL as well. As MCL, we are planning to, do it in a very broad way. So definitely we will be in touch with you in coming days. Thanks a lot.
Sure,
Thank you.
sure, John. Sure, Erika.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Saeed. Thanks for having us. Thanks,
Thanks,
Wilson.
guys.
thanks, Rob.
Okay.
Thank you.